Hey everyone, we're looking at the hypercars around Spa today, in particular the Toyota Hypercar. I'm actually finding these cars quite difficult to drive, particularly at low speed. The force feedback just gets really light and it's just really hard to feel. Anyway, coming down towards the first turn, we're going to look out for similar braking markers as we use in GTEs, but we're going to be braking a little earlier. There's the 100 board, we're going to be braking a little bit before that. This first turn's actually really tricky. I got myself into a bad habit of just not slowing down enough, so make sure you hold the brake and trail it long enough to slow the car down so that it will bite and turn in, because you should get a nice pull eventually. Turn the steering wheel a lot, by the way, to get a nice bite, and then just be careful on throttle and exit. Don't run out to the sausage curb on the exit. If you touch that sausage curb, you'll kind of get stuck out there a little bit and it'll cost you exit speed. So yeah, just experiment with that first turn. It's quite hard to get right. And now Erosion Radeon is also actually a little bit more difficult than you'd expect. Make sure you take a really smooth line. I kind of marked it out with the green there. You want to make this line as smooth as possible. Just try to get the straightest line possible through there. Don't cut too much at the top here. If you cut any more than I have here, you'll probably invalidate your lap. But yeah, if you just turn the wheel a little bit too much, it'll cost you 1/10 of a second. You just have to do your best to try to get the smoothest line possible through Erosion Radeon. To the next turn, we're going to be braking a little bit earlier than what you would in a GTE car. Look for the 100 board there, or that orange mark on the fence. We're going to be braking a little bit before the curb starts. And now to the curb here. We can use all of the curb on the inside, just don't cut too much or you'll invalidate the lap. You want to bring your car all the way to the right here and try have a later apex on this turn. You can drop a wheel on the inside here, but be careful, you might bottom out. I actually did it here. I was quite lucky to pull the car back. But yeah, if you drop a wheel, you might just catch the underside of the car on the curb. And yeah, anyway, bring the car back to the left here to open up your entry line for the next turn. And just gentle on throttle, you don't want to oversteer. Here's a funny one, you want to lift a bit, bring the car just to the inside curb. I use way too much curb in this particular example. Usually I try avoid going onto the green bit. You might want to just use a little bit of the yellow and red curb. But yeah, very gentle on throttle and try use it to help you rotate around the turn. Into the next turn, we're going to be braking a little earlier than where the curb starts, but you can brake quite late, later than what you'd expect. Double apex the turn towards the middle of the track, then come back. Very gentle on the throttle, just control the car, use the steering and the throttle together to balance it nicely. Bring the car back to the right, out to the outside curb. Brake a little earlier than what you would on a GTE, just a little bit before that light post on the right there. Just a very short brake, a little bit of trail braking. Use the downforce to bring the car towards the apex. So you can just touch this inside curb. Try not to use too much of it because the car gets a little unstable and might push you wide. Again, you might get a snap of oversteer and exit there, just very careful. For Pujon, we really want to be using the downforce here. Brake just before the Gazoo Racing sign on the grass there. Don't brake too hard for too long. We're going to downshift to 5th gear, not 4th like I did here. That's unnecessary. We don't want to hit the inside curb too much because we're really trusting the downforce here, and hitting that can push us a bit wide, unbalancing the car a bit. Mid-turn, we don't want to go too far into that outside curb because it'll make it a little bit more difficult to pull the car back towards the inside, costing us a little bit of time, but do use as much of the track as you can. Back to the left, we're going to be braking a little bit earlier than what you would with the GTE car. A couple lengths before that curb starts, we're going to be braking. Don't brake too late there because you will spin on entry. I did go just a little bit too deep here, but I've managed to pull the car back enough. Don't use the inside curbs on both of these turns too much because the car will be unsettled and you'll suffer a lot of oversteer. Here I just use a little bit of the yellow and red curb because I think it's smooth enough to use. You get onto that grey stuff and it makes the car very unbalanced. Be careful on throttle through here, very easy to oversteer. Brake alongside where that Goodyear sign is. We're aiming for a later apex in this turn here, so carry your speed in. Don't get up on the curb because you'll really find it difficult to get on throttle and carry your speed through here. You can touch the yellow and red curb a little bit, but don't get too high on that curb. Just build up on the throttle. You don't want to hit the throttle too hard because you'll oversteer and really hurt your exit. This turn, just don't get up on the steep curb because that will also potentially affect your run out here onto the straight. I will put an emphasis on being gentle on your throttle inputs because you will lose time if you're too heavy on your throttle inputs and getting tons of oversteer on the exits of turns. For Blanchimont, just make sure on the exit you don't go too wide, be inside the track before the curb ends. Now for the final major braking zone, we're going to brake on that white line, so it's a nice easy braking reference there. Brake on the line really hard, bring it back down to 1st gear. This final chicane is quite tricky. Don't get too much onto that sausage curb. You can use a little bit of it, but don't go right over it because the car will get all nasty. Into the last turn, you can't really see the inside. It's really difficult. You do want to avoid touching that sausage curb because that wrecks your last turn. It's tricky. You'll have to practice it. It's hard to see, but That's a lap at Spa. Not the easiest of laps. This car's really hard to drive. I think these cars are quite difficult compared to the similar, or the GTPs on iRacing. Right, so I'll play the lap again for you without all the talking and all the pauses, so you can see it all in one motion. And then after that I'll come back for pit entry guide, so stick around and I'll see you shortly. And now we'll take a quick look at the pit entry. Coming into the final braking zone like we normally would, we're going to brake hard at the white line, down to first gear. After the apex, we're going to keep tight to the right so we can make the pit entry. Now just be cautious through here, don't go into the walls obviously, keep it tight, and then we reach the little dash to the pit line. That red thing on the fence we can use as a braking reference. Just brake a few fence posts further back from that red bit, brake in that little dip, and down to 60 km per hour, hit the pit limiter, and we're good. I hope this lap guide's helped you guys out. We're all still learning the sim. I'm sure there's a little bit more to extract here and there. And I'm actually thinking of probably focusing my lap guides from here on the daily races, the ones that are probably more relevant to you guys at the moment. So look out for those, and I'll see you guys very soon.